still a little bit, what was the word you used? Fragile after enjoying Box Park Wednesday night. And let's just say we've had a good start to the Easter weekend. After Arsenal, got the job done. And it's just, I'm still pretty euphoric after that win. We're going to talk about Havertz and Jorginho. We're going to get your comments. We're going to do all that, of course. But welcome. Happy Friday to everyone. How are you, Christian? How are you doing?
Good, man. Yeah, still buzzing from Wednesday. Like I said to you, I'm not really a party person. I don't really drink. But Wednesday, obviously, we had the watch along at Box Park. It was amazing. Vibes. Yeah. What a night to be an Arsenal fan. Obviously, we then went out, had a few drinks after, ended up going out again last night. This week has just been crazy as an Arsenal fan. But look, that's what they've done to us, man. We deserve it. We've been through so much as Arsenal fans over the past 20 years, since 2006, since that Champions League final. We've just been through so much. We've been through the mud. We've been at the bottom of the barrel. So to have a week like this as an Arsenal fan just feels amazing, man. It feels so good.
I think, I kind of understand. I totally understand we haven't won anything yet. There's still a long way to go. We're kind of still very much in the middle of this competition. I'm just going to adjust my mic quickly. But I'm also like, okay, but that in itself was just a great night as well. You know, it was a really big moment for this team. It was a night because, there's trophies and there's kind of, beating, there's winning the majors, which we want to do. But at some point, you also stop and go, we just beat Real Madrid, we just beat Carlo Ancelotti's 15-time, Champions League winners, Real Madrid, and knock them out of the competition that typically people don't do. Why am I having such problems with this mic? Anyway, but we did it, and we're kind of right to enjoy it,
100%. And look, if we don't win the Champions League from here, there will be a lot of rival fans saying, oh, you celebrated for nothing, and it means nothing because you didn't win it. But I'm going to enjoy it, man. This is something that we haven't been in a Champions League semi-final since 2009. This is something that hasn't happened to Arsenal Football Club for 16 years. That in itself tells you how amazing it is as an achievement just to get to a semi-final of a Champions League of Europe's biggest competition. And look, like I said, I'm going to enjoy it. Whatever the naysayers want to say, if they want to try and downplay it and you haven't won anything, they gave us a 0% chance or a very, very low % chance to get to the semi-final, to knock out Real Madrid. And we did it emphatically. We didn't just beat Real Madrid. We destroyed them over 2 legs, beat them at the Bernabeu. People, I think I saw on Twitter today, people were making Photoshop edits of Saka onto Omri's body before we played them, in the yellow shirt. Now we don't need no Photoshops. Saka had his Omri moment. Martinelli had his Omri moment. Yeah. We actually went there and did it. And I think as a team, and for Mikel Arteta, I think this is huge because the word bottle is thrown around with this team so much. The word, talking about how we fold in high pressure moments and we can't get over hurdles. And don't get me wrong, again, we haven't won the Champions League yet, but this is a big moment in terms of handling pressure. Even the pressure on the second leg, once we're 3-0 up, the outside noise, the PR from Madrid was crazy. Yeah. Even me, after that first leg, I think I did a fan cam and I said, I'm confident we're through. I'm 95% confident we're through. Just from that PR this whole week, by the time Wednesday came and we sat down to watch that game, I was saying, I'm 75% confident. Just from all the noise, all this remontada talk and, Bellingham in the interviews and Vinicius posting 9 p.m. be there. And the players handled it, man. They handled it. And I'm proud of this team. Like I always say, there's so much to love about this team. I believed in the manager since day one. And hopefully from this moment, although it's been hard in the Premier League, hopefully from this moment, we can kick on. Hopefully we can, do a job against PSG, get to that final. And then we talk about next season after that as well, because next season needs to kick on from this as well. Yeah. We can't sit on this. We can't go backwards. Summer needs to be big. I know I'm getting far ahead now, but we just need to build on this, man.
I love this comment from Ryan Arsenal. He says, love the whole 8 to 9 days. And I love the way he said that because it really did feel like 8-9 days of just, we were happy again as a fan base. And, Arsenal fans, Arsenal in this very, very unique position that So I've known Arsenal when they've been shit. And we've kind of all agreed on that. Maybe people will disagree on what the problems are, but largely we can kind of all acknowledge where we are. I've also been in this position where at no point have I actually thought, well, we're a shit team. No, at no point in the season have I gone, well, we're bad. You know, we're suddenly not good. We've been not good enough in a year where we really had to be more than ever. And that's where that's where the stress lies. So there's this kind of like, oh, what a terrible campaign. But we are second with loads of injuries. But that's kind of still not good enough, because you go, but we should have invested in the summer and been ready. We knew that we had players who were playing a lot of minutes. We should have had a squad. You know, Arteta talked about having one of the smallest squads. We should have been ready. But then at the same time, Edu's gone and Bert has come in. So maybe they're looking to address that. And there's kind of all this, but that. And all this conversation around a team that ultimately haven't been good enough, but haven't been terrible. So that makes identifying the problem, I think, harder at times, because it's not just one big change. It's, well, what are the intricacies that are going to swing it back our way? And then the final thing is that ultimately we finally got in a position where by beating Real Madrid, just as a whole fan base, all of us just loved it. And for 8-9 days, we have loved it. And we've all just been really enjoying, for the first time since probably the run-in last season, we've all just been really enjoying the team getting it done. And that has been, honestly, we haven't had this feeling all season. I don't think all season we had a feeling. Maybe when we won at Tottenham and we were kind of still 3 wins and a draw in our first 4. They were kind of the only times where I think we all felt as a fan base like, yeah, like the team are, I don't know, we're feeling it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does completely. And I think what you were touching on there is the standards that I think Mikel Arteta has given to Arsenal fans now. Like, go back 3 years, we were battling it out, scrapping it out for a top 4 spot. You know, we came a point behind Spurs and we were devastated because we didn't get back in the Champions League. We hadn't been in the Champions League for 6-7 years. I would have given everything to just play in the Champions League again. As soon as we were back in the Champions League, I was at that game. I got a ticket. I was sitting there. I listened to that Champions League anthem again at the Emirates, and I got goosebumps. And I was thinking, this is where I want to be now as an Arsenal fan. Mikel Arteta has done well. He's brought us back here. And now we're second in the league, and we're all disappointed because we're not winning it. So sometimes you need to take a step back and look at where we were and where we are now, because it is all perspective. It is all, we're expecting to win it now, whereas 3 years ago we were just battling out for top 4. And that's what I'm very grateful for Mikel Arteta for just putting us back in these conversations. Rebuilt, like, he took us from the ground and rebuilt us. There's been mistakes, don't get me wrong. It hasn't been perfect. There's things I've criticized for. I'm not saying this, you know, he's done the best job ever and this guy, keep him forever, whatever. But he's, in my opinion, he's done a very, very good job to turn us around, to take us from a banter club that, you know, can't beat Man City, can't beat Liverpool, doesn't win away from home against big 6 teams, gets destroyed often by teams like Chelsea, can't even get through last 16s or quarterfinals of Europa Leagues. To now, we haven't conceded 3 goals in a game since December 2023. We're going away to all these big teams. We're not losing. When was the last time we lost to a big 6 team? We go away to Real Madrid. We win at the Bernabeu. If you'd said to me in 2020, even after we won the FA Cup, right, that team, I didn't hate that team. But if you'd said to me, is this team anywhere near good enough to win at the Bernabeu or to compete with a team like Real Madrid or PSG or to even play in the Champions League, I would have said probably not. There were a couple of players that I liked, but the squad as a whole, the vibe as a team, and even the vibe within the fans wasn't, you know, we didn't have that belief of we can do this. And now, which I'm so grateful for Mikel for, he's bringing that belief back. And I'm just praying that, you know, the next year, 18 months, we do win something. Because otherwise, if we don't win the Champions League, if we don't, you know, get an FA Cup, if we don't win the Prem, if we don't challenge next year again for the Champions League, I understand the noise will be loud because it will have been 6 years. And this is where the balance comes into it. I think a lot of fans think you're either Arteta in and you love him and you don't criticize him, or you're Arteta out and you hate him and you want him gone. There is a balance in the middle where you can criticize, you can say there's been mistakes, you can talk about some of the negatives, but not want him out at the same time and see the positives. So, yeah, man.
Christian, I find that interesting because I sorry to cut you. have this season been? I get criticized in my comments for being like just constantly making excuses for Arteta, and then I also get criticized for not giving him enough praise. Now I like to think that means I'm balanced, but it's really hard. It's really hard to like. Okay, I think this has been Arteta's worst coaching performance for the last 3 years. If I'm honest, I think this season has been I don't really know how to explain what I'm trying to say, but kind of almost the worst he's done as a manager compared to last season, the season before that as well. But I thought he was exceptional to have us challenging in 22-23. I think the run we went on last season was phenomenal too. He's the only manager in Premier League history to have ever hit 89 points and not at some point won the Premier League. So I want to believe that that's coming for him. I want to believe that history and data tells us that's coming for him. This season has been a regression, but at the same time, and some people take issue with the fact that I say regression, sometimes standing still in football is regression because people catch up to what you do. We didn't do enough in the window. We didn't add any starting players really. We thought Calafiori might be, but he's been injured. And so therefore, I think teams have caught up to us a little bit. Having said all that, we have had ridiculous injuries. The more I see Bukayo Saka play, the more I realize how bad it was to lose him for 3 months. I knew it was bad. But then I see him score that goal at the Bernabeu. I see him playing as the best player on the pitch that is shared with Vinicius, Jude Bellingham, Kylian Mbappe, Rodrigo. He was the best of those players.
And he wasn't even 100% fit, James. That was Saka at maybe 75, 80%.
2 starts in 2025, right? Mental. I see that and I go, like, I mean, of course we got worse.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Of course we struggled. Mm-hmm. And, then there's other things. Erdegaard, why is he struggling? Is that all on him or is it a little bit of the manager? Like, I think you can explore these things, right? I think there's work to do in the summer and I'm really interested to see what Arteta and Berta do. But I still, when I have been critical of him, I've still maintained, though, this guy's going to win the big trophies. I do believe that. Whether it's with us or someone else, I believe he will get his hands on that Champions League trophy in his career as a manager. I really believe he will. And I also and league titles and things like that. And I also believe that just because maybe this season hasn't been the step forward and maybe has actually been a bit of a step backwards, I believe that you can still learn from that. I don't think it has to all be upwards. I think that can be fixed. Now, what we saw against Real Madrid, now look, the hype, the occasion, the atmosphere, all these things are going to get players naturally, ready to go. But look how coached they were and they followed every instruction. That wasn't the way we defend against Real Madrid, guys. That wasn't fluke. That wasn't just we tried really hard, we got on a low block and we fought for everything. Watch the intricacies of the movements. I highlighted on the Gooniverse that Saliba played left back for about a minute and a half. It was 90 seconds. He played left back in the home game against Real Madrid. Because when we cleared a corner and everyone had to just take up the position they had to take up to get in this shape as quickly as possible. And Saliba was at left back for a minute and a half with Lewis Skelly centre back. And we're moving side to side to defend Real Madrid. Why can they do that? Because it's been coached. So I think the players are putting that off because they are still believing in Arteta too. And I would love it. I would love it for him if he pulled off the Champions League, not just for us because we could really enjoy it, whatever. But look, it is for us. It's for us fans. It's for me and for you and for the Arsenal fans, for the players. But I'd love it for him too. I think the work he's done, it deserves a trophy.
Of course it does. 100%, man. It really, really does. I say this all the time, and I echo what you say in terms of how well coached these players are. It's not a fluke at all. You bring in, we lost Gabriel, right? Arguably our best defender this season, people have said. We brought in James, stop being so negative.
Very good.
James, you're not negative, man. You're positive.
Nah, he's winding me up. He's funny. I get what he's doing there. Very good.
But look, we brought in Jakob Kiwior. Everyone was terrified, Kiwior up against Mbappe. The guy was solid. Apart from one mistake in, I think it was like the 5th minute of the first leg. Remember where he went for the ball and he missed it?
Yeah.
Apart from that, the guy was phenomenal.
I thought he was even better at the Bernabeu, man.
He was incredible. I don't know if you saw the clip. There was one moment, or if you remember, there was one moment. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Valverde, swings a ball in from the left and he heads it up. Yeah. And it's in the air. And then he's got the composure. He just heads it back to Raya.
Yeah.
That little bit of defending, I didn't know he had that in his locker, just that composure. Because we've seen Kiwior play this season, and he has made mistakes. I think the goal against, was it Fulham? Raul Jimenez, I think that was his fault. You know, there's been a couple of other times, but I heard someone else say, and I believe this as well, Kiwior needs game time. You can't just throw a player in at centre-back into a defence that people talk about being up there as the best in Europe and expect him to be at the levels of some of the best defenders in Europe. You need game time. You need to play. We saw him come in last season and play left-back. First few games he came in, he wasn't great, but he grew into that role. And remember those away games? We were going away, winning 5-6-0 every week. Kiwior played in a long run of games at left, and he's not a left-back.
Yeah.
So now we're playing this guy in his position. He's getting game time. He's being trusted. People are off his back a little bit because he's had a few good performances. His confidence is up, and we're seeing the levels that he can perform at. And people have questioned the signing from Mikel Arteta, saying it wasn't good enough, get rid of him. Well, he obviously identified something in Kiwior that a lot of people didn't see. And I think we're now seeing it. He does have quality. In my opinion, just from what he's done over these past few games, I don't mind him staying next season. And I genuinely think a few weeks ago, I probably would have said, he's either our third choice left centre back, and probably move him on in the summer. But he's now showed us a level where I like the player. I really do.
A squad player has to be able to be trusted to be brought in. And while I was calling for, that was a very long way of basically saying that, a squad player needs to be trusted, essentially, right? They can't just be there to make up a number. And actually, when you have to use them, you're kind of reluctant to it. That doesn't mean that if he comes in, he needs to be Gabriel Magalhaes. But what it does mean is, and this is why I'm not a football manager. Well, for many, many reasons, but this is one of the many, many. He had to play Kiwior. And what I mean by that, Mikel, is like, that was his moment. Our left centre-back is out, so the next left centre-back comes in. And I was saying, I'm so scared of going out. I think you've got to play Ben White, blah, blah. And he went, no, this is the guy behind Gabriel in the pecking order, so we're going for him. And for all my doubts, I thought he was absolutely sensational. And as much as Kiwior deserves so much credit for that performance, Arteta deserves credit for standing by his player. Because I've seen managers go, I don't know, I've seen this before. I'm going to avoid using him there, and I don't quite want to do this. But, he'll see him every week in training, he'll get an idea, and he has to make a bold decision. And look, a lot of Arsenal fans didn't want Kiwior starting these games, and he was absolutely sublime. And, he came with some, a decent reputation. Lewandowski had some real good things to say about Kiwior, and a lot of teams in Serie A have wanted him. I actually think, weirdly, this summer is actually going to be more about finding it difficult to keep him. And actually, then we got to readdress, well, what do we do at left back? Does Calafiori become the left centre back? Do we get a Dean Huijsen at 50 million we've been linked with? We're going to have to do something like that and get as much as we can for a Kiwior, because I actually think these performances, it's so weird. If he played badly, we'd all be saying, well, he's definitely gone because he's not up to it. But I almost think he did so well against Real Madrid, that's going to be a case of Serie A clubs who wanted him anyway will go, yeah, well, what's your price? Because you're not starting him. And he'll go, look, I've had a good few years at Arsenal, but I'm ready to be a number one somewhere. So isn't it amazing how quickly things change in football?
But you know what? As crazy as it sounds, that's what football is. Look at Moises Caicedo, right? I think he's a really good player, but he had a one good season at Brighton. All of a sudden, he's being sold for 100 million. Very good player. I think he's coming into fruition at Chelsea. Look at Mykhailo Mudryk. He had a good 6 months playing in Ukraine. All of a sudden, 80, 90 million to Chelsea. That's what football is now. All you need is a glimpse, a bit of PR on social media, and your price tag's way up there. And if you'd said to me a few weeks ago, sounds crazy. If you said to me, would you take £15 million for Kiwior to, I don't know, AC or whoever's interested in Syria, I probably would have said, yeah. I'd have said he's really.
Now I don't want less than 30.
Now I'm thinking, maybe 30. I'm talking 45, 50 mil if you want him. He's proved he can do it at the Bernabeu in the toughest of occasions. If you want him, 45, 50 mil. But why not, though? Why not? If you can do it on that stage, and he did play a big role for us last season, and he's a Polish international, I've seen players go for more for doing less.
Yeah, you're probably right about that, to be fair. Yeah, I mean, and full credit to Jakob Kiwior. And I think, you know what, if I'm if I'm sitting here with a microphone on AFTV in the previews going, oh, I'd go Ben White. I'm not sure about Kiwior. It's only right that we actually do a section on him as we've done in this live. Just really giving him credit because I was so wrong, and fair play to him. He got even better at the Bernabeu. Honestly, I thought with every minute the tie ticked over from the first and second leg, he got better and better and better. And the way he ended that second leg, I went, I'm more worried about Saliba right now. Saliba's the one who's, actually he was brilliant, but had a few shaky moments. I think the goal was his fault, things like that. And I'm thinking, Kiwior, you're running it. By the way, Kiwior's distribution, that's one thing I didn't need to know pre the Bernabeu, pre Real Madrid at all. His distribution is sensational. He's got a really good left foot and a really good kind of vision, execution of the pass through the lines. Yeah,
he really does. It almost worked as a straight line from Kiwior to Marino dropping in, that left foot to left foot. And we saw that so often over the two ties. And we used to see it from Gabriel to Xhaka. It was a similar thing, or Zinchenko would come in and then Xhaka would be there. He loves that kind of straight line on the left foot with then Martinelli running in behind or the striker running in behind. And we saw it for the goal. We saw, Marino, the left foot into Martinelli and behind. And this is Arteta, man. This doesn't happen by fluke. This is something they obviously work on every day. And to see it come off at somewhere like the Bernabeu is beautiful.
Totally agree. I will say, by the way, I know you were asking. Sorry, let me just address this super quickly. We'll come back to Kiwior quick. Everyone, I'm really sorry that Forever Arsenal's not out yet. It's coming out tomorrow. Turkish has been in Madrid and is driving all the way back, bless him. So we couldn't do the morning straight after. I know it's super late. We are sorry. There is a Forever Arsenal coming out on the Real Madrid game. Don't you worry. That will be, I think, tomorrow morning we're recording. So, yeah, night in for me. I'm not quite celebrating Madrid for a third night in a row tonight. So don't worry. I
was going to say, shout out Turkish, man. Was it 19 hours he drove? 18
something
hours?
Like that. 16, 17, yeah.
If people ever want to doubt if this guy's an Arsenal fan because sometimes he's negative, the guy just drove 16, 17 hours to Madrid. Watched Arsenal when he's driving 16, 17 hours back. That's a guy that loves football, loves Arsenal, man. So
and go watch his vlog, guys. Look at the way he celebrates the goals, man. It's all in his vlog on his channel, Turkish LDN. Go have a little look. I'm just messaging my flatmate to tell him to take my chicken out of the oven. Friday Night Lives.
Why did you put chicken in the oven before going live?
Because I wanted it ready just as I was done. Anyway, and I didn't want to leave you halfway through. Yeah, well, don't even ask. Anyway, I had a bit of a shocker on the timings. Anyway, big up Turkish, big up Jakob Kiwior, big up Arteta. The final thing I was going to say about Arteta and the Kiwior thing, and again, here I am. I'm about to say something a bit negative about Arteta, and I think people might think that I'm being a bit too much, but I think Arteta, as much as I praise him for backing Kiwior in that moment, for playing him, for giving him the minutes and trusting him, I also think, okay, but actually we would have more faith and trust in fans if we were able to see more of Kiwior in other games where you could have rotated a bit, where you could have, Gabriel could have not played Man United at home and we could in the FA Cup and we could have played Kiwior, and then seen for ourselves. And he seems to only come in when Gabriel can't play. And I think, or he plays left back or he plays right centre back. And that's the one thing I'll say. I think as fans, we can forgive ourselves for not always having major faith in players that Arteta seems to have lacked a little bit of faith in till he's forced to have faith in them to a degree.
No, 100% agree, man. And we were like you say, we're talking about game time. Like, if you expect him to come in when the player gets injured and play at a level, but he hasn't played in 6 months, sometimes it's unrealistic expectations. But yeah, like we said, big up Kiwior. The guy was outstanding. One negative and one thing I want to say on Mikel Arteta, and it's such a small thing. And I'm I usually back this guy, and it's not even really.
That's why I'm smiling. That's why I'm smiling. I went, okay, well, I wonder what he's got here. Go on.
We made 4 subs against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Ethan Nwaneri was on the bench. Why not bring him on for 5 minutes so he can play at the Bernabeu, man? This guy turned up for Arteta in a tough period as a right winger when he trusted him. So for me, just a little sentiment, and I know, look, this is top level football. This is we're talking about elite professional football. Maybe there's no room for sentiment, but just for me, just bring him on for the last 5 minutes. And someone I just saw in the chat, take off Partey. Do you know what I mean? For me, that's a tiny little bit of mismanagement. Could have taken off Partey at 85. In hindsight, obviously you don't know he's going to, do something stupid and get himself booked. But just bring on Ethan, man. Give him 5 minutes at the Bernabeu just so he can say he's played there. You bought him on against Brentford when you were 3-0 up when he was 15. So he had a taste of Premier League experience. I know he's had taste of Champions League experience. He scored in the Champions League.
I'm really taking this one in. Do I agree with this?
Just 5 minutes at the Bernabeu. And then him and Miles Lewis-Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri could have been on the pitch playing together at the Bernabeu with Arsenal winning 2-1. Don't get me wrong. 99% of everything was beautiful. Lewis-Skelly was brilliant. I would have just loved to see, even if it was a minute, just to say he came on the pitch,
I think he should have given him, maybe he should have been part of that set of subs that came on after the second goal. So he would have had like a minute or two on the pitch. Again,
especially because we didn't use 5 subs.
Yeah. But I don't agree with taking Partey off with 5 minutes to go, because I think the damage was done with the yellow card anyway that he got before. And also, I promise you, if Real Madrid went 2-1 up in the 86th minute and they need 2 goals with probably about 7-8 minutes to play, that would have got very. Honestly, I know we were in total control, but I've seen crazy things in football. There have been. I mean, I remember Barcelona needing 3 goals against PSG. They were 3-1 up. Do you know what? I'm actually going to give you the exact minutes of those goals. Barcelona 6-1.
That was
PSG.
a real remontada.
Right. The goal 88, 91, 95. And the one of the 91st was a penalty as well. So they actually had time to kind of get fouled, take the pen, go again. And then, football can just. But I agree. Once Marseille got that second, I think that was a case of, he did. I think he did make a few sentimental changes. Let's get Tierney on. Let's get
exactly.
When it Zinchenko on. But
so I said it was a tiny criticism. I just would have liked to see it.
Do you know what really surprised me was his first sub being Trossard for Saka, because I would have thought he'd have gone for Tierney. Just get another fullback on to help see it out. But he trusted Trossard, which makes me think he felt there was a goal on the counter. Yeah. I thought that was, I don't want to say brave. Listen, we're leading, we're comfortable, there's not long to go, and you brought on Trossard instead of Tierney, right? It's not exactly super brave management, but I just thought he could have gone for Tierney like he did the week before. And I think he sensed there's a second here, and I need some clinical players on the pitch. Yeah.
No, I see that. And you know what? How quiet is all that Tony Pulis, set piece FC, defensive FC? How quiet has that gone?
Well, we went and played there. We played. We got on the ball and played.
People said this guy, Tony Pulis in disguise. All he wants to do is defend. We literally played against Real Madrid and we went at them from minute 1 in that first leg, minute 1 in the second leg. So anyone that wants to talk about set piece FC and we're just a defensive team. The reason we've looked like a defensive team a lot this season is because of how teams play against us. Most of the games this season, and don't get me wrong, there have been games where, you can criticize maybe away from home. But most games this season, we dominate possession. We have 3 or 4 times as many shots. And for me, our problem over the past 2 years has been finishing chances rather than creating chances. So yeah, man, it's nice that all this set piece FC stuff and Tony Pulis stuff has gone quiet. So that annoyed me, I'm not going to lie.
I took major issue with Jamie Carragher and his analysis on Monday Night Football, saying that Arteta went from trying to win the league like Guardiola to trying to win it like Mourinho. Firstly, I was like, I don't care how he wins it. And to be fair, and also Carragher didn't mean it as criticism. So it wasn't meant as criticism, and I didn't take it that way. I just thought it was incorrect, because I think Arsenal and Arteta will play and will get on the ball. Where I think the criticism actually is slightly misjudged about Mikel Arteta is, I think when things don't go right, his default is to protect. I think his default is to be a bit more careful. Away at Bournemouth, he took off Sterling because he wanted the other more defensively aware players, but Sterling was looking quite good that day. And he left others that weren't quite on it. And it's things like that I go, that's where I've got a bit of an issue. I think his default is safety first. I do think that is true of Mikel Arteta when things don't go right. But I think his absolute intention is to play, is to get on the ball. And also, this this style of football, I think over 38 games, our style of football generally under Arteta does need to evolve to something a touch more expansive, because either that or you add more individual match winning quality, right? One or the other for next season. But for the Champions League over 180 minutes, trying to control the data, the what's it called? The possession stats, the field tilts, the shots. If you over 180 minutes deny Real Madrid a lot of that, you're probably going to put the ball in the back of the net once or twice yourself.
Mhm.
So maybe that style of football is more suited to Europe.
Yeah,
And
that's what they say about
we'll
tournament
find out
football in
against
general,
PSG.
right? They say it a lot about international football. They said about England, how England weren't set up to go and score goals. They were just set up to defend goals and catch one or two. And England got to the final of the Euros not playing the greatest football. And we've played some great football in this Champions League. I'm not comparing us to England.
Yeah, we have.
But sometimes having a real solid defensive setup is how you win tournaments and how you get late in tournaments like the Champions League. It does annoy me a bit that we don't. I don't want to say take the cup seriously, but Carabao Cup and FA Cup have just been anonymous for us.
I agree.
5-6 years.
That's a major like issue on Arteta's record for me.
It really is, man. Like,
not just how far we've gone, because we have got to 2 Carabao Cup semi-finals, but how limply we then gone out of them. Like, I've got a real issue with how we performed in the cups, and that's a part of it. So when people are going, James, why can't you see Arteta's doing this and everything's amazing? I go, no, I do see those things, but you are also not mentioning the lack of the cup runs and the other thing. We've got to judge Arsenal as a whole, and across the whole season, the Champions League has literally been the only positive, which if we win it, I don't care. I do not care. It can absolutely be the only positive. But until we have, we're right to mention those other things, right? Yeah. So you're right to bring it up. You're right to bring it up.
There's a criticism there. And look, I don't know, man. Maybe a big summer's needed, and we need to challenge on all 4 fronts next year. I want to see us have a strong team in all competitions, going for all 4, because I genuinely believe we're good enough to win any of them. If we can get to a semi-final now, potentially a final, and win the Champions League, we can win a Prem, we can win a Carabao, we can win an FA Cup. There's nothing stopping this team, if we strengthen right, from doing a double next season. Why not? We're good enough to win an FA Cup. We're good enough to compete in a Champions League. I think if we add correctly and strengthen correctly, we're good enough to challenge for a Premier League. I don't think that's too crazy to say. And I want to see that, man. And again, that comes back to the standards and the levels that Arteta has taken us to now. 5 years ago, I would have been happy with, getting top 4, getting into the Champions League, maybe getting late in the FA Cup, potentially. Do you know what I mean? Now I'm talking about let's compete on all fronts to actually win these things. Yeah, Champions League next season should be a given. I think it will be a given. So let's compete and let's go win the silverware, because, like I said, it has been 5 years now without a trophy. If 6 comes, the noise is going to be loud. Yeah. And I think Arteta, for the work he's done, he just needs to squash that noise, man. He needs to prove everyone, all the haters, wrong, and go and win.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's take some comments and super chats, and then we will talk about what the actual title of this is, which is Havertz and Jorginho. But yeah, we've kind of been my bad. I've sort of taken it in a different direction, but there we go. Super chats. Let's get to them. Texas says, the team has outperformed considering the catastrophe. Transfer windows, ownership, the board let us down. Arteta has been a magician otherwise. Texas, my slight pushback on this is, while I agree with a lot of it, I think Arteta's been let down, certainly in January. I think he was let down by the higher-ups. I have questions around the Edu, Berta thing, all that. I do wonder about that. My big thing, I'd say, is, Arteta not being given a striker in January, he's been stitched up there. Arsenal should have been good enough to get some business done, and it's disappointing he didn't. But Arteta not spending more in that position over the last 5 years, you can't tell me he's been denied a striker across 10 transfer windows. He must have not prioritized that position, and that's fine. He's prioritized others. But if we're lacking a killer, if we're lacking a goal scorer, if we're lacking a match win in the front 3, we can also look at him to that and say that that's also maybe a part of his shortcomings. That's all I'm saying. Like, we can't say it's nothing to do with him, because when we do sign a player, we say it's everything to do with him. So it's finding that balance. The thing with transfers is we'll never know. we can just kind of go off some reports, really.
For sure.
Let's go to this one from Ryan. We watched United score 3 in 5 minutes. No time for sentiment, I'm afraid. So that, Ryan, that I completely forgot. We were drinking. So Man United last night.
Crazy.
Man United last night, yeah.
That was what's the word? Remontada. That was a proper comeback, man. Fair play to United.
Yeah,
I don't know. It was 4-2 down in the 114th minute.
I mean,
Leon had 10 men, but then to score 3 goals. Harry Maguire went up front, scored the winner. Fair play. Yeah. I've got to say fair play.
Right. Come on. And this is exactly the point. I mean, look, I know we're better than Leon defensively and all that, but look at the players Madrid had on the pitch. Anything can happen. So, yeah, I agree. I think that's a really good example, Ryan. Steve K says, but this is the worst due to injuries. Not okay. So this season's worst due to injuries, not the coach. Steve, okay. I hear that, but let me show you. I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to try share my screen if I can. Yep, here it is. I can't remember, Christian, if you were with us this day, but let me show you. Present, share screen, bam. You all remember this. Here we go. David Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly, Erdegaard, Rice, Marino, Saka, Havertz, Martinelli. We were so short of ideas this day in this game. Fulham themselves Liverpool themselves dropped points to Fulham. I think it was a 2-2.
Yeah, Robertson
we were so lacking in ideas. We were so lacking in. Now, you could say it's a one-off game, but I guess what I'm trying to say, people, is Arsenal have gone out there with, a serious 11, and still this season, it's not always been about injuries. That's all I'm trying to. It's the only point I'm trying to make. I think injuries have been a massive part of our season, and we can't ignore them. We can't say, well, no excuses. It annoys me when I hear Gary Neville go, well, no excuses for it. But it's a bit of an excuse. We could have been more prepared, sure. But the point is, this current team are going to struggle without Saka, without Erdegaard, without Ben White, without Kai Havertz, without Gabi Jesus, without, most of them, to be fair. Martinelli missed a month. It's a reason. It's something to consider. But there was also evidence of games that we also hadn't really kicked on enough, and we didn't have enough solutions at times as well.
Yeah. So it's a solid team, man. But I agree with you.
No Partey in there, but yeah.
I think, Lewis Skelly, I think, had just come into the team. Martinelli was well out of form. Odegaard, again, wasn't performing. Yeah. Marino in midfield, I wasn't overly happy with. So, yeah, it looks like a good team, but I think at the time there was a lot of problems within the team.
For sure.
But also, I agree with you in terms of the summer. I don't think we did enough in the summer to really put ourselves in a position where we could say, I'm confident we're going to win this Premier League. We still had a chance. Our team's still very good. But even looking at that, we still left, and we know this, we left ourselves 1 or 2 players minimum away from really saying we can challenge for this Premier League. And then January was January, and I still think about January, man. Obviously, this week has been great, and we haven't been talking about January and needing a striker and all these things. But how I've said this so many times, man, how they just did nothing when we just needed anything, man. The Premier League was still there. That game against West Ham was, we could have gone 5 points if we'd signed a striker, and it was awful.
Horrible moment for this club. Horrible moment for this club that they didn't
the worst thing I think about it, the worst thing about it is the work we've now left ourselves for the summer. Because if we think about the players who are going to go, right? Neto's going to go, so we need a keeper. Kiwior might go, so maybe we need a player there. Zinchenko's probably going to go. Tierney's going to go. That's 4 already. Jorginho's going to go. Partey might go. Let's say he doesn't, right?
Yeah.
Jorginho, that's 5. Trossard, I think, is going to go. That's 6. Who else is going to go? I'm sure there's someone else as well. Who am I missing?
I think one of Trossard or Martinelli go. Yeah.
I think Trossard probably goes to Saudi. So that's 6, maybe 7 players that are going.
Yeah.
And our squad was already thin.
Yeah.
We already needed an extra body or 2. So that means we've got to sign 6, 7, maybe 8 players. And you don't see that many players come in a summer transfer window. If they'd signed 1 or 2 in January, the workload for what they've, what they would have to go and do in the summer would be a little bit less. One extra player in the summer, one or two in the summer, one or two in January. We'd only be talking about 3 or 4 in the summer to have a really, really good squad. They've left themselves so much work, and Andrea Berta has got it cut out, man. He needs to go and work wonders, and whatever this, what's the word they're using? Some word about unprecedented. Yeah, unprecedented summer transfer window. It needs to be unprecedented, man, because that's a big job.
With almost everything. Probably everything you said there. Yeah, totally. We've got some more super chats, but guys, we are going to come back to them. I'm really sorry. I'm very aware that we're 40 minutes in and we haven't once touched on this Havertz and Jorginho stuff. So we're going to do it now. For anyone, might have to end up changing this title, but it's fine. They're back. No, they're not. That's a complete lie. Havertz is closer than I think we all thought he'd be at this point. Jorginho is touch and go for PSG. So I said they're back. I was thinking about Havertz. I was like, Jorginho's nowhere near back.
Havertz got injured. No, go on. Sorry.
No, go on. No, what were you asking?
No, I was just thinking about how long it's been, because Havertz got injured when they went to Dubai, right?
Yeah. So that was Jan.
End of Jan.
Early Feb. No, maybe early Feb.
Early Feb. So it's only been a couple of months. How can he be nearly back?
I don't think. So, okay. Let's. Okay, sorry. Guys, I'm making a mess of reporting on this. So let's explain exactly what's going on. Kai Havertz was ruled out for the season. Then there was hope he'd be back if we were to play a Champions League final, which was the 31st of May. And then Arteta was asked whether he could be back for PSG. Now, Arteta said basically unlikely. Like, that's the reports, but that he's doing really well in the gym, and it's been hard holding him back because he needs to obviously do everything right, but he's really ahead of schedule doing well. Very similar to Bukayo Saka. The two of them were kind of fitness freaks. They never got injured before, so I'm not surprised that they're recovering really well in some way. Clearly, they're touch wood, but they're clearly not injury-prone players, and they deal with injuries well. Now, the fact that he was even asked whether PSG is a possibility, as far as I'm aware, he didn't completely rule it out. That's got me thinking. The other thing, and we can delve into all that, would he even start if he's back because Mourinho's doing so well and everything. But the other thing it's got me wondering about is Jorginho, because Jorginho, we don't know if he's going to be fit for PSG. But Arteta's a liar. In press conferences, he lies. He doesn't tell us stuff. And I get it. He's got to play the mind game. He's got to keep them guessing. PSG might plan a completely different pressing plan and a completely different approach for Thomas Partey to a Rice to a Jorginho. Rice will play the second leg. Jorginho might play the first leg. Rice could play the first leg. They've got a lot to plan for. So I think I have this sneaky feeling, based on absolutely nothing at all, that Jorginho could be fine. Well, do we know what Jorginho's injury is?
He was kind of like holding his chest, wasn't he? Maybe his rib or something.
I just thought he might have landed badly on his side and had a chest. It's a chest injury.
Yeah, it's something chest.
I think he's going to be okay. It's in 2 weeks.
I've got a quote.
I think he's going to be fine.
Arteta's quote on Jorginho. They asked him when he's going to be back. He said, Jorginho is not going to be available yet. He's still struggling. They asked him if he'll be fit for the first leg against PSG. He said, that's probably a question for the doctor. It's quite a specific and difficult matter. So I'll leave that to the club to make an analysis. So it doesn't sound like a no. It sounds like we're playing it by ear and seeing day to day what happens.
He doesn't want to tell us anything. And that's absolutely fine. Doesn't have to tell us anything. But I think Jorginho will be fine. And I think Arteta is going to do everything he can to make sure he's fine, because he's going to want Mourinho up front and Rice in the box-to-box, because it worked really well against PSG. So against Real Madrid, so he'll probably want it. Well, actually, it did work against PSG. Well, Rice in the A anyway did when we played them at the Emirates. Kai Havertz. We're in a great position, and I don't want to be negative. I don't want to be saying Mourinho did this, so Havertz isn't that, and blah, blah, blah. But I think Kai...
He doesn't come back in for me.
No, he doesn't. Like, for me, not at all. I think you stick with Mourinho. And also, I fear for Kai next season. I do. Mourinho has been great. He's scoring goals. And we're going to sign another striker. I think Kai will, because he can play left 8, right 8, up front, all that. I think he'll largely get minutes. I think Arteta does love Havertz. I actually think Arteta's going to build a system with Havertz in the diamond. At the tip of the diamond, there'll be another striker, and it'll be kind of floating. I think he'll devise something to get Kai in there. But I just have this feeling that it's going to be tricky for Kai next year.
I think it should be, man. And I don't want to be negative. What a week this has been. Yeah. I'm not Kai Havertz's biggest lover. I'm not his biggest hater either. Look, people love him. We just see he's a top footballer. I think he's a top footballer. I just don't think he's necessarily what we need. I've seen him miss too many chances. The amount of times I've seen him get the ball and fall over his own feet, like I see it with my eyes, man. I don't doubt that what he does spatially and his awareness spatially and his physical attributes bring a lot to the team. I don't doubt that at all. But I think what we've seen from Mourinho is that he can do what Kai Havertz does. And I think that's the biggest statement on Kai. We haven't really missed anything. If anything, we've been better.
Do you know what?
I mean? He's scored more goals. He's been more clinical. I don't want to be negative, man, but I personally think we need to move on from Kai.
Okay, let me give a really, just for me, this is my personal opinion, honest assessment on Havertz versus Mourinho in the striking position. I actually think the Real Madrid game at the Bernabeu was the first display of Mourinho's all-round game being there. I think for all the goals he scored, I actually think Mourinho's lacked a bit of an all-round presence and impact from the 9 position. I think he's done. Yeah, well, we'll talk about the positives in a sec, but I think he's kind of struggled to actually really impose himself in that position and give Arsenal a focal point. I think Kai Havertz does that better and has done that better. But I think Mourinho, I think both of them have really good movement and can get in the box well. I think there's a reason Arteta looked at both of them as his left 8 and made those signings. So I think they're the same there. But I think what Mourinho has over Kai Havertz, he is comfortably more clinical. And strikes the ball with more conviction, and I think is a more natural goal getter than Kai Havertz. I think he is. So when that ball falls to one of them in the box, I want it to be Mourinho every day of the week. So it's not that I think Mourinho's done everything better than Kai, because I think the overall game has kind of been lacking until the Bernabeu, where I thought Mourinho was sensational. So that's where I think it's not like a straight, well, this guy's better than you now, Kai, see you later. But I just think that the one thing which putting the ball in the back of the net, I think Mourinho's really shown up Kai in that particular area of the game.
Yes. And I think I don't want to go through all of Mourinho's goals and say, does Havertz score this chance or what does Havertz do here? But the third goal against Madrid in the first leg, I don't think Havertz scores.
I agree with that.
Which is in a big clutch moment. I don't think his movement is as good as Mourinho's. The way he backpedaled to then get his left foot on it, it reminded me of Giroud, the technique. The left-footed technique.
He is very Giroud in the way he strikes the ball, Mourinho.
Yeah, he is. He is. And look, like I said, I don't want to be negative, but we're talking about Kai. I don't think he finishes that chance. And in a big moment when we need him. We have seen some good finishes. I don't want to completely discredit. I think it was Southampton who got back into the game, edge of the box.
Great
nice finish.
Yeah, he did great.
Really good finish. A couple of times where he's been in behind, think the keeper, couple goals against Chelsea. Yeah, he has it in his locker from time to time, but we need a 1-in-2 striker at Arsenal. We really do. And for me, Havertz isn't a 1-in-4. He's maybe a 1-in-4, maybe a 1-in-5.
This kind of comment annoys me, Hassan. Look, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for the comment. Name a striker in the so-called top 6 apart from Haaland that is better than Havertz: Nunez, Solanke, Højlund, Jackson. The reason it annoys me is because I'm like, okay, but does that mean that we're fine then? Do you know what I mean? Because you've listed players that have absolutely not been up to it, not remotely up to it. And yes, they play for other big 6 sides. I think it's just like, it's like looking below you and going, well, they're worse. So
it's the lowest standard. We're holding him on our standard.
We're not saying Havertz is a bad player. None of us here have said, get rid of him. He's terrible. He's awful. No, Havertz has absolutely changed my mind since he's come to Arsenal. Much better player than I thought he would be for us. But the reason I fear for him is because if we need a goal late in a game, I think it's a toss-up between throwing in Marino and Kai, and we're going to try sign a 9. So I think his future is, like I said, at the tip of the diamond. Arteta's been trying to do this for a while now, and I think he'll finally get to do it with a 9. Havertz at the tip with kind of Lewis Skelly, Partey or Rice, and Erdegaard. I think he'll figure something out tactically like that for next season. But there's one other big glaring thing with Kai Havertz and why I worry about his kind of future at Arsenal for him, let's say. If you are looking to bring down that wage bill, he's a big I don't know Andrea Berta, obviously. I imagine if that was a requirement, we need to get control of this wage bill again. I think there will be a red circle around Kai Havertz's name. And they'll go, but he's not your starting 9 because we just signed one. You don't love him in the left 8, and I think he'll command. I think there'll be some interest. I think clubs will be interested in bringing in signing Kai Havertz from Arsenal. Don't think we'll make our money back, but I think he could get 45 million for Kai Havertz, Berta, if he was in the market, and I think he'd get bids for that. Now, look, I like Kai. I'm just, Marino's done great, and we want a striker, and we weren't already sure about Kai before. It's a fair question to ask, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a weird one on Kai, man. I personally think Arteta. Do I want to say this? Yeah, I do. I think Arteta's biggest mistake over the past couple of years was, I got to be careful how I phrase this, was bringing in Kai Havertz for the money that we put him on.
Sure.
To make
it's not adding that player to the squad. It's maybe
if we sign Kai Havertz for 35 million instead of 65, like we did Marino, and he was on 100 grand a week, these conversations wouldn't be as loud for me. But to bring him in for 65 mil when he wasn't performing at Chelsea and make him our highest paid player was, in my opinion, bad business. And yeah, I'm saying the same as you. I'm not saying that he has no place in this squad. For me, he just has no place in our starting 11. As a squad player, to come on 75, 80 minutes when we need a big guy up front, or we need more physicality, or we need someone to space invade, as people say, like, cool, he can do that. He can play a role in the squad. And he has the CV, which you're talking about selling him on. He has the CV. He scored a winning goal in a Champions League final. He's won major runners. He's played in, he starts pretty much every game for Germany. He's an international player. If we were to move him on, I wouldn't be sad.
To end it on a positive on the Kai section, we'll go back to super chats. Because look, by the way, I don't disagree with what you say. I know it feels kind of wrong even saying it, but we're just trying to have an honest conversation around these players returning everything. One thing I will say is I'm excited for his return. I think sometimes there's a case of players' reputations kind of go up, right? They age well when they're not playing, weirdly. But I think it's going to be really good to have another forward, another player who knows what Arteta's trying to do on that pitch, whether he comes on in midfield to reinforce us there, or whether he comes on up front. I almost see Havertz, weirdly, as effective as a defensive player to bring on to see out a game as I do as much as I see him as a kind of focal point up front to try and get us goals or something. So yeah, I'm excited to have him back. I hope he can get some football, because if PSG is going to be very difficult, but if we get past them, I want everyone available, and Kai Havertz is part of that. Like he's had a moment on that stage before, and I'd love him to have it again, but this time for Arsenal. He's changed my mind, Kai Havertz, on him. I like the player. I don't love I really like his attitude and demeanor more. At first, people thought he didn't really care and he was a bit shy, or whatever. I actually really like him. I think he's kind of really cool with it, and he works really hard, and I like that about him. I think
I have respect for him, man, for sure.
Yeah, and I think
the Newcastle game, I think, changed a lot of people's opinions, where we went from not liking him completely or not rating him to being like, oh, okay, he has a place in this team. He definitely has the passion and wants it, which is always important.
Porto. During Porto at home, when he gave Conceição a big old shove,
yes,
it's like, I was like, thank you for doing what all the fans wanted to do. So I like Kai, I do. I don't. The whole point of this conversation is he's back soon, and the question is, cool. Well, when he's back and fit, does he basically come straight into the team like Saka has? But no, I don't think that place is ready for him, because I think there's someone else who has done so well in it. So the question therefore becomes, well, there's someone playing there now, and we want to add someone in that position So what happens? Got 5 minutes left. Let's go through the final super chats. And we'll round it off there. Cesar says, elephant in the room. Havertz lacks conviction. Now we see Mourinho have more strength in hold up and striking. Imagine Kai tanks us in the Champions League final. Cesar, I think what we've already talked about. I disagree with that line that Mourinho's shown more strength in hold up, but I think in striking, I completely agree with that. Although, like, maybe the Real Madrid game was a turning point for his kind of hold up play, Mourinho, because I thought he did brilliantly in that game. I couldn't believe how much he bullied Rudiger in that. I thought Mourinho really struggled in the first leg to kind of get anything on Asensio and Rudiger, and in the second leg he was just like so much better than them. It really surprised me. Femi says, Arteta in, Arteta out. Fans don't get to decide. The owners do. Just back the club. Fairly criticised that being negative. Come on, you Gunners. Let's go make history. And I back Mikel Arteta to lead us to glory. Agree with almost all of that. I wouldn't say that we shouldn't have the conversations. I think we should. But I get what you're saying. Ultimately, the decision lies with other people. Like this. Noel Fox, and then you can see that. Yeah, very good. Crazy how both men and women's team are playing French opposition semis and potentially Barca in the final. Very, very true. Good luck to Arsenal women. I think they play tomorrow against Lyon. Brio says Havertz doesn't have a position in this team. I think that's harsh. I think he does in the squad, but maybe not in the starting 11 next season. Let's see. Suj says, big up James and Christian. Suj, always great to see you, mate. Hope you're well. Marina's been growing into the team and role needed more than Kai has. If we can take 45 minutes for Kai, I'd wish him well. Do you know a really great piece of analysis on Kai wasn't missed, stop the cat, Pepe was better. Okay. Did I read that one earlier? No. Do you know one bit of analysis on Mourinho I really like, Christian, was people saying Mourinho is proving that Arsenal can just add a bagsman number 9, a out-and-out goal scorer, and it could work for us. Because apart from the Bernabeu, like I said, the hold-up was lacking, and maybe we can have just a finisher 9. What do you think?
I pray on it, man. I pray on it. Just bring me a killer. Bring me a killer up front. Bring me a Isak. Bring me a Gyökeres. Bring me someone that just scores goals, that just takes their chances. Because that's what we've lacked. We've been very, very good over the past couple of years. 84 points, 22, 23. Yeah, we were really good, but we still missed a lot of chances. Last season, we got 89 points, but there were so many games where we just couldn't take our chances.
Yeah.
If we just put a killer up front, and it doesn't take away from how we play, and we go at teams. We don't, take up a defensive style at times. Just put a killer up front, someone that's going to take, 1 in 2, 1 in 3, and we could be such a good team, man.
Yeah,
we're already such a good team.
South Newton said, I don't know how you can look at our league form and say Kai hasn't been missed. Of course he's been missed. The question is more, has he been missed from the perspective of Mourinho having to play up front? I think he's been missed, but I think Mourinho's ultimately done a great job. So the squad is so depleted, guys. Of course we need Kai Havertz back, whether he's starting or not. But I hear the point. Mourinho has done very well and the goals have been there, so fair play to him. Christian, a big thanks for joining me on this Friday night. 58 minutes, 8:01. A lot of chat there about kind of the bigger picture, about Mikel Arteta, about next season, and obviously Havertz and Jorginho updates, and a sort of good chat on Kai. Thanks for joining, man. I really appreciate it. Any plans for the weekend?
So I'm going to be on the watch along on Sunday, so I'll see you there.
See you there.
Massive one against Ipswich, yeah?
Huge. I'm going to have sleepless nights.
Oh, wait, man. Sleepless nights.
There we go. As always, hit the like button, people. Check us out on the watch along on Sunday. Big up to all of you, Suj, Ryan, Kwame, lots of you in the chat. Big thanks for joining us. The 1,200 of you at one point that were all watching as well. Do hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet. We're going to round it all off there. Big thanks. Come on, Arsenal. Let's enjoy a couple of weeks. Let's ride the high of this win against Real Madrid and back to business. Probably back at Box Park again. Catch you soon.